I had interviewed a band yesterday, and I mispronounced their name as soon as we started rolling camera. Poisson Rouge. So through them, there was an emphasis placed on carrying forth their identity and their heritage as Cajuns. Does this cross your mind? Does it ever come through your microphone? Is it something that you intentionally delve into, or is it just a part of you, like not so much, let's say Cajun, but your heritage? Cajun was theirs. Does your heritage come through in your music, and is it intentional, or is it implied? Is it just coming natural?
Yeah, I think it's probably unintentional, probably in the music, but everybody from this part of the world, down the bayou and all this area, it certainly comes through in conversations and in our, when we're being social before and after shows,
sure,
and in interviews and things like that. So I think it's widely known, and we even joke about it on stage, about the Leeville OG, and I'm from Venice, Louisiana, so people know that we're Cajuns at heart, So I think probably less so in like the recording of our music, but certainly whenever you're hanging out with us,
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think it's certainly an unintentional,
I bring it up, and not so much to like label you as a Cajun. It was their cross to bear, or their badge.
Yeah.
It was something that they mentioned, but it just brought to mind heritage in general, and like I think before we started recording, maybe music that comes from this region has a certain sound to it unto itself, and I think that's got a lot to do with our own heritage and the influences that kind of shaped this our version of civilization, I guess, you know what I'm saying? And I feel like musicians in general, just like you absorbed music from your mother and father when you were growing up, and some of it came out in later years, I feel like some of our heritage comes through, some of our customs come through, and like we said, if I was in a different part of the world and I heard something that was from a southern region, maybe even Louisiana, I might be able to put my finger on it and be like, that sounds like the music that came from where I grew up,
right.
And I value it, you know what I'm saying? I think it's unique, and I was going to ask, if it comes through in your music, in your opinion, and if you felt like it did, do you feel like it helps you to bring something different or put something different back out into this musical landscape, because we're dealing with a global industry. You know what I'm saying? So I was just kind of curious if it had any influence on your end product, I guess.
Yeah, and like I said, I think that certainly the musicians that we're accustomed to working with are part of this atmosphere and this environment and this culture. I think end product, just because of the type of music that we're doing, is probably a little bit less of that in what you hear. Because it's not, I would say, traditional, like Cajun, Zydeco, that type of genre.
Right.
We're sort of outside that bubble.
Yeah.
But you know what? If somebody came to me and pointed a finger at it and said, that sounds like it was recorded in Louisiana, I wouldn't mind,
Well, and I'll say you first. Describe to everyone how you would say categorize your music. And I hate to ask anybody that, because it's a real pain in the ass question. You feel like you're being pigeonholed, and people are like, I'm these 15 different things, and you could be part of all 15 of those things. But just for anybody that hasn't heard you, maybe describe to them what kind of music you write.
Yeah, I think, from record to record is going to be a little bit different. I think first record was like a mixture between country, blues, and contemporary R&B.
Okay.
And I think this next record is going to be a little bit more on the pop side of things. You're still going to have a lot of the feel of that contemporary R&B stuff from the first record, but a little bit heavier on the pop side of music for this next go round. And intentionally, I wanted to, when we do each record, I want them kind of to be signature, to be ours, right?
Sure.
To have our signature on it, but to also kind of, for one to be different from the other, and not so drastically where it sounds like completely different people. But no, I think we did it purposefully that way. First record was really bluesy, really kind of a lot of country feel in the melodies, but the big horn sections in every song. And in this record, probably less of the big horn arrangements, more of synth drums and loops and things like that we didn't experiment with a whole lot in the first record. So I think it'll come out once it's complete as a little bit different sound than the first one.
So for me, as the person who writes the music, the way this starts, it starts with a lyrical idea and a story and melody, which to me drives the direction.
Okay.
So the first record had its own thing. This one has a completely different thing. This record is an entire story. And I knew the story going in. We had those conversations. I knew the lyrics. So that steered direction.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of drove the melodic content, the chord structures. And as we're moving to the third record, I kind of know what it's going to be. So I'm already starting to think this is going to be more of a party record. More up-tempo, more dancey. So that kind of drives, I think, musically where we go.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's funny when you think about, let's say, the intended mood of a record or the intended genres, as we were talking about, of a record. Certain instruments are as implied as necessities, and others are okay, but not so much, and then some are absolutely not. Like you expect to see or hear, rather, certain instruments, I would believe, in, a stupid example is if we're listening to the symphony or something very moody, it's probably going to have some strings in it. But I mean, if it's up tempo, maybe not, unless we're getting to a bridge or something. You know what I'm saying? They all kind of find their own way into this process. So that'll be interesting to hear, because throughout the different albums, if you're changing up what genre you would say it goes into, then you're going to have different lineups moving from album to album.
For sure.
Different people contributing on different instruments.
Yeah, no, for sure. Different people, we're calling on different people now just based on what we're trying to get the end product to be and who we think would be better suited for this particular type of style or song or whatever. Right?
Sure.
Great point, because moving forward, we've already reached out to new collaborators on the next record, where we're kind of branching away from the people we work with now to someone who's more, I would say, electronic driven, who understands the software more, so our next collaborator is going to be someone who's kind of out of our circle now, but I know where we kind of want to go, and that guy has the skill set that I don't have.
To find these people?
To find the sound.
Okay.
To more MIDI, more dance driven, more...
So it's like an interior designer for your record.
Yeah, exactly.
That's cool.
Yeah, so I kind of know where I think we're going next.
Yeah.
I don't have that skill set, but this guy does.
Still in all, though, I mean, delegation, you sound like you know what you're doing already and you're not even there yet, so
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I wanted to ask you, in closing, what is in the near future for you and professionally, and also further down the line? I know that in the near future, I don't know how much has changed with your intent, because recently you've made some big changes, being signed to a label, and taking on a manager, and I was curious how that's going to impact the near future. What do you think it's going to look like?
Yeah, I mean, in the immediate future, we're wrapping up the second record, which is called The Reason Why. We released the first 2 tracks from that record in May. We're probably we're getting mixes back now. We're 75-80% done with that one. Intention is to release that around the end of next month.
Okay.
Probably after that, something we've been kicking around is whenever when we recorded the pre-production demos for that record, we put some emphasis on having better demos than we had for the first one. We did some rough cuts for the first one, sent them to the musicians, say, here's the general songs, learn them, and then we'll go in the studio and record them, right? But for this one, we put a little more emphasis on getting good guitar tracks, good vocal tracks. And it turned out that I really liked them all. And so I think what we're going to do is, after the record is released, probably early next year, we'll release the record again, all acoustic. And that's sort of like a double release, same song, same order, just doing it, just he and I, sort of a stripped down version of that same record. And then, hopefully by this time next year, we'll be talking about record number 3. So, we're, like you said, we're already working on that now. And in the middle time, I mean, we're going to keep touring, keep playing. You know, I don't see us slowing down on that, you know, at all. I think we did 100 shows this year.
100 shows.
Yeah, I can tell you're a busy guy.
Yeah.
To say the least.
So yeah, I mean, I think we'll be right around that probably for next year as well. So we'll just keep grinding it out, man. And biggest thing for us is, and what I enjoy most about all of this is just writing. And you know, my time with Jerry in the studio writing songs is really what it's all about for me. So as long as we can continue to do that and support that with shows where we can, I think that's a short-term plan, you know.
Sure.
So certainly excited about next year for sure.
Just out of curiosity, what happened with the previous album that caused you to want to write or to record better example tracks for the people to play?
So one thing was, whenever this is a long amount of time, that the elapsed time that goes from when you record the pre-productions to the time you get in the studio,
Okay.
and start recording. And so I had to listen to those pre-production tracks, you know, over and over again until we went and redid them. And there was just parts of them that had just like stuck in my craw. You know, I was like, oh God, I can't believe I did that. And I had to hear it so many times throughout the process. The scratch vocal is what we call it.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? I'm not listening to that again for 6 months. So I was like, when we go do these pre-productions, like, they're gonna sound good.
Yeah.
And he's like, all right. So we went in the studio, and I made sure that they were, you know, something I could live with. Like if those vocals were on the record, I would be fine with it. And so, but then once I heard it with just me and him, I was like, man, this is actually pretty good stuff, you know. So
Oh, that's funny.
So yeah, that was it. It's just because of the cringiness of like hitting a bad note here that I didn't go fix, because I was like, it doesn't matter, no one's gonna hear this. But I had to hear it over and over and over and over again. So
Okay.
yeah.
Also, it seems as though y'all really enjoy doing the stripped down acoustic versions of your albums, getting out and performing them. What are you going to do after this next album comes out and there's so much synthesizers involved?
Yeah, I mean, we still, I think that would probably be a better question for the next record, because I think it's going to be a little bit more electronic than this one.
That's what I'm saying. He said he was getting somebody else to help.
So even this one is a little more than the last one. So, but it still can be done on guitar and vocals. But yeah, I mean, I think it's something we got to probably figure out. You know, we may have to bring in when we do these acoustic shows, like some kind of MIDI player, keyboardist, or something to try to replicate it in a scaled down environment without the big production of everything. So haven't really thought that through yet, but that is a good question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can edit that out.
Yeah.
Let's go.
We do like that 21 Pilots thing, you know.
Oh, just a laptop?
Yeah, just a laptop. Yeah. No, that's cool. That's you can leave it. I like that. I think it's something we certainly need to figure out.
Sure. All right. I think that's about it, man. Unless you got something to add. I did. You know, I take that back. I did want to mention that you do have your own website. Maybe you could tell them where to find that, because you've got music and merch on there.
Yeah. So the website is www.mjdardarmusic.com. I think.
MJDARDAR.
Yeah, MJDARDAR. Instagram @MJDardarmusic, Facebook the same. And if you go to the website, typically the concert schedule is updated, but most of our kind of live stuff is done on social media every day. So week to week, month to month, we're posting where we are. So.
Sure. All right, cool. I think that's it, fellas. Appreciate it.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Sometimes